On one of the world's most stunning beaches, superhuman Israeli counter-terrorist Zohan is enjoying a carefree vacation, surrounded by delicious food and beautiful women. Thanks to his extraordinary abilities, he easily wins every challenge thrown at him, dazzling everyone without even breaking a sweat. Sadly, his holiday is cut short when higher-ups from the Israel Defense Forces come calling. They need him for a new mission. It turns out Phantom, the superhuman leader of a Palestinian terrorist group, was spotted at a hacky sack tournament in Beirut. A clear sign he's trying to lure them in. This puzzles Zohan since he personally captured Phantom 3 months earlier, but the IDF used him in a trade deal, and now he's free again. Zohan is reluctant to accept the mission, but when the possibility of civilian casualties is mentioned, he agrees to help, determined to keep innocent people safe. Later, as he prepares for the mission, Zohan retrieves his most prized possession from a secret spot in his room, an old hairstyling catalog, a symbol of his secret dream to become a hairdresser. Over dinner with his parents, he confides that he's tired of constant fighting and yearns for a new life in the USA. His parents disapprove, arguing that the army provides the only stable career, and when he finally reveals his passion for hairstyling, they mock him, using a slur for gay. That night, Zohan cries himself to sleep. The next morning, Zohan heads downtown, ready for battle. Dispatching Phantom's lower soldiers with ease, even stopping bullets with his nose, he soon chases Phantom to the beach. There, they toss around a grenade until it explodes, and the only thing left behind is Zohan's beach shorts. Phantom triumphantly presents them to his followers as proof that he killed the legendary Israeli fighter. But in reality, this is all part of Zohan's plan. He has faked his death and is hiding underwater. After retrieving a bag he had hidden earlier with the help of a bird, Zohan smuggles himself onto a flight to New York, traveling inside a pet crate with 2 dogs, Scrappy and Coco. At first, the dogs avoid him, but after he cuts his hair into a modern style, they warm up to him. By the time the plane lands in America, Zohan has given the dogs stylish makeovers too, and he slips away into Manhattan. His first stop is the famous Paul Mitchell salon, where he introduces himself as Scrappy Coco, a name inspired by the dogs, and asks for a job. However, his lack of experience and odd behavior get him laughed out of the salon. While wandering the city streets, Zohan sees a young Jewish man named Michael being bullied by a driver who nearly ran over his bicycle. Zohan steps in, easily defeating the bully and earning Michael's gratitude. Unfortunately, the victorious moment is soured when Zohan spots a cab at a red light. The driver is Salim, a Palestinian man from Zohan's past missions. Fearing exposure, Zohan grabs Michael to cover his face and sprints away, ending up at Michael's home. There, Zohan meets Michael's mother, Gail, and pretends to be Australian to stay undercover. The ruse works, and Gail lets him stay in an upstairs apartment. Later that night, Michael is traumatized when he accidentally walks in on Zohan and Gail getting intimate. To make amends, Zohan offers to take Michael out to meet women. At the club, Zohan encourages Michael to be less judgmental, pointing out that all women have something special to offer. While Michael tries to apply this advice, Zohan is approached by Uri, a fellow Israeli immigrant who immediately recognizes him. A big fan, Uri promises to keep Zohan's secret and even gives him a business card, offering help if Zohan needs a job at his electronics shop. The next day, Zohan resumes job hunting, but every salon rejects him, either due to his inexperience or because he frightens the children. Realizing his dream will take longer to achieve, Zohan visits Uri in a neighborhood filled with Middle Eastern immigrants. Initially, he seeks a temporary position at Uri's shop, but Uri declines, saying that working there would crush his spirit. All the other employees once had big dreams too, but ended up stuck, and Uri can't bear to see the legendary Zohan suffer the same fate. Instead, he suggests a different plan. There's a small salon on the Palestinian side of the street that might just take him in. At first, Zohan wants nothing to do with working in a Palestinian business, but Uri quickly changes his mind by showing him what Phantom has been up to lately. Riding the wave of his popularity, Phantom has opened a restaurant chain called Phantom Mukentuken, complete with kids' meals that include toys of himself and a tiny exploding Zohan. Outraged that his enemy gets to live a dream while he's stuck sweeping floors, Zohan pushes his worries aside and crosses the street to meet Dahlia, the salon owner struggling to keep her shop open as rent prices climb every month. Although unimpressed by Zohan's total lack of experience, Dahlia reluctantly agrees to let him sweep the floors a few shifts a week for free, giving him a chance to gain some real practice. Zohan continues living at Michael's building, using his free time to practice hairstyling techniques on Gail while throwing himself into his sweeping duties at Dahlia's with extreme dedication. His intense cleaning habits, however, start to get in the way of the other stylists like Claude, who struggles to keep up. To keep him busy and speed up his progress, Claude begins giving Zohan private hairstyling lessons after hours. Since Zohan isn't earning any money from the salon yet, he also picks up a part-time job as a driver, though his wild and reckless driving quickly becomes infamous. One afternoon, when one of Dahlia's stylists quits unexpectedly, Zohan eagerly volunteers to step in. Although Dahlia doubts his abilities, the clients are open-minded, and Zohan finally gets to fulfill his dream. His cuts are a bit old-fashioned, but the middle-aged women adore the attention. He flirts, dances, gives sensual head massages, and after the haircut, he whisks them away for private sessions in the back room. Before long, every woman in the neighborhood is lining up for a Zohan haircut, flooding Dahlia's salon with business and allowing her to stay ahead of the ever-rising rent. Zohan's popularity explodes to the point where Paul Mitchell himself reaches out with a job offer, but Zohan remains loyal to Dahlia and Claude, who now receives tips from Zohan on how to charm clients. However, trouble brews when two new customers arrive at the salon in a cab driven by Salim, who instantly recognizes Zohan. Memories of their past clash flood back. Salim had once thrown a shoe and spat at Zohan, only for Zohan to steal his beloved goat in retaliation. Furious and determined to get revenge, Salim calls his friends Hamdi and Nasi to hatch a plan to capture Zohan and rise to fame like Phantom. Meanwhile, Zohan and Dahlia spend time together during a picnic, although Dahlia makes it clear it's not a date. As they share their immigrant stories, Zohan is moved by her frustration over the endless, senseless conflict between their peoples. When they return to the salon, Nasi shows up pretending to be a customer, dropping hints about goats and shoe throwing to probe for information, but Zohan remains clueless. By the time Nasi reports back to Salim, he finds himself just as enchanted by Zohan as all the women are. Meanwhile, Zohan experiences an unexpected personal problem. His body suddenly stops cooperating, preventing him from continuing his private sessions. A trip to the doctor yields no answers, but a conversation with Gail does. She immediately catches on that it started after Zohan's picnic with Dahlia, suggesting he's falling in love, and now his body only works for her. Meanwhile, Salim and his friends attempt to arm themselves but fail to secure real explosives when their supplier ignores their calls. Undeterred, they follow a homemade bomb recipe they found online and head to a pharmacy to buy liquid nitrogen. However, due to a misunderstanding caused by their accent, the clerk mistakenly sells them an ointment called Neosporin instead. Back at the salon, Dahlia proudly confronts the collectors, refusing to move even when they threaten to cut off her water supply. Zohan overhears her brave stand and feels his body react once again, confirming that she's truly the special one. Though, unfortunately, Dahlia still doesn't feel the same way. Later that night, Salim and his friends drive by Dahlia's salon and lob their makeshift cream bomb at it, convinced they've scored a major victory. Instead, Zohan simply collects the mess and takes it home, where Gail finds it useful for her aches. Even so, Uri grows concerned that Zohan's cover may have been blown and urges him to take Michael's shift at the community watch to sniff out whoever might be onto him. That night, while doing his community watch shift, Zohan catches three thugs vandalizing the local shops with offensive graffiti. Instead of calling the police like the rules require, he decides to take matters into his own hands and beats them up. The next day, it's revealed that those men were sent by Grant, the landlord who owns most of the lower Manhattan shops and wants the tenants gone so he can demolish the area and build a mall. Furious that his collectors have failed to intimidate the locals, Grant decides to escalate things by hiring a group of white supremacists led by a man named James, who is more than happy to get his hands dirty. In the neighborhood, tensions rise as Palestinian and Israeli groups start blaming each other for the graffiti. Zohan tries to explain he saw that the vandals were white guys, but even that isn't enough to convince them to stop pointing fingers. Meanwhile, Salim and his friends realize they can't take Zohan down by themselves and decide to call Phantom for help. Phantom agrees, although he offers Salim a very underwhelming reward, and immediately starts preparing for battle. A few days later, a vague note in the newspaper's gossip column hints that Phantom is on his way to face Zohan. Not wanting to lose the life he built, Zohan decides it's time to come clean to Michael and Gail, who accept him without hesitation and encourage him to be honest with Dahlia too. However, when Zohan tells Dahlia the truth, things don't go as smoothly. She doesn't mind that he's Israeli, but learning he used to be a counter-terrorist is a deal-breaker due to personal family reasons. Before he leaves, she gives him a new hairstyling catalog as a goodbye gift. The next day, Zohan prepares to face Phantom, determined to handle things on his own, although Uri still secretly rallies his friends to back Zohan up if needed. The rumor is that Phantom will show up at a hacky sack tournament featuring many celebrities, including Mariah Carey and Grant, who gave out free tickets to attract a crowd. Phantom, being a huge Mariah Carey fan, sneaks into her dressing room during halftime, giving Zohan the chance to confront him alone. They square off, circling and waiting for the other to make a move, but before anything can happen, Michael calls Zohan and reports that several shops are being set on fire. Realizing the neighborhood needs him more than he needs revenge, Zohan abandons the fight and rushes back home, where he finds Palestinians and Israelis blaming each other again. Salim, Hamdi, Nasi, Uri, and other locals also get involved, but when Phantom shows up, he surprisingly tries to stop the fire himself. Seeing that Phantom can't handle it alone, Zohan decides to put aside their rivalry and helps him extinguish the flames using a hose filled with hummus. Afterward, Zohan makes it clear he no longer wants to fight, even refusing to react when Phantom strikes him repeatedly. Phantom is confused by Zohan's newfound calm until Dahlia steps in and reveals the reason behind it. She's Phantom's sister, and it was her family history that made Zohan's past unacceptable to her. However, seeing Zohan's transformation and commitment to peace has changed her mind, and she confesses her love. Dahlia's speech inspires both sides to put their anger aside, although Salim still holds a grudge over his stolen goat until Zohan sincerely apologizes and promises he treated the goat like family. The celebration is cut short when more fires break out. Using his special army goggles, Zohan quickly identifies that the vandals are James and his men disguised to stir up hatred. It turns out Grant orchestrated the hacky sack game to lure people away from the neighborhood, giving James free rein to attack and frame the locals. Phantom, frustrated by his own unfulfilled dreams, initially wants to tackle the thugs alone, but Zohan encourages him, gaining Phantom's friendship and agreement to fight together. With their powers combined, they easily defeat the white supremacists, except for James, who threatens to blow up a bomb while trapping puppies in a cage. Acting fast, Zohan and Phantom scream ancient jihadi chants that haven't been sung together in centuries, causing a manhole beneath James to explode and launch him away from the bomb, while the puppies land safely on a couch inside a nearby apartment. Grant arrives to oversee the chaos but instead is arrested by the police on the spot. Zohan is ready to celebrate, but Phantom can't stop his powerful chanting in time and ends up accidentally damaging more stores. Thankfully, now that the Palestinians and Israelis are united, they decide to rebuild the area together. Instead of letting Grant's mall plan succeed, they create a community-owned mall where everyone can have their shops. Phantom finally gets to live his dream selling shoes, Salim starts a goat ride attraction, and Uri relocates his electronics store into the new center. After getting married, Zohan and Dahlia open a salon there too, with Michael working for them and impressing clients using the flirting techniques he learned from Zohan. Zohan is surprised when his parents visit the salon. Even more shocking, they fully approve of his new business and his Palestinian wife, and they let Zohan cut their hair as a heartfelt symbol of their support. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.